previous video, we learned the process and to apply that in problem 1 to draw a process flow diagram. The purpose is when you draw process flow diagram, we need to be able to measure the performance of a process so that we can be able to improve that performance. So with that here, how to improve, we have a few concepts that we need to apply and define before we get into the detail. The first one is the capacity. And for the capacity and all of this concept is available in the reading for today's lesson, and I suggest you to read that material so that you can learn more about this concept. The first is the capacity. Basically, that is the maximum rate of output. Maximum rate of output. For example, in the problem 1, what we have here, basically that is how many burgers per hour that this restaurant can produce, and that it will be example of how many burger per hour, and that is capacity. And then the next concept is efficiencies. Everyone want to be efficient. Then efficiencies. So for that one, it will be the value of output to the value of input. The value of output to the value of input, and that define the efficiency. And sometimes it can be go underlie with the concept of profitability, or it can be utilization. So all of that related concept, utilization. And then the next concept is we have flexibility, and I suggest that you read that into the reading. Flexibility. A process if flexibility, it will be better, right? So that flexibility can change, adapt with different products, etc. And then the other measure is also discussed in the reading is the quality of the process, the products that the process produce, and those are the performance measure that we need to determine for a process. And then with that performance, how when we analyze the process to determine the performance, and that go to the next few concepts in the process analysis. In terms of process analysis, we have a few concepts, and I think some you already learned. The first one is cycle time. You learned that in the very first few lessons of this class, cycle time. And by definition, that is the average time between completion of successive units. Average time between completion of successive units. And that we have cycle time. Then we have the concept of bottleneck. bottleneck. So that is the factor which limit the production that we call it bottleneck. Factor which limit production, and that we call bottleneck. Then another concept we also want to touch on, that is the idle time. And for the idle time, it will be the time when the useful work not being performed. We stand, waiting, etc. So that is time when useful work not being performed. So that we call it idle time. And then the other concept, when we do the process analysis, that is the way the process is balanced or imbalance. Something we learn in pavement lesson, surface treatment and pavement, balance between the plant operation and the pavement on site, determine the number of trucks, etc. That is balance and imbalance we are talking about. Balance in operation to make a efficient process. And the last concept before we apply to the problems is the, and this is quite new in this class, the manufacturing lead time. Manufacturing lead time. Lead time. And that is called MLT. And in this case, it's also known as, there are a few concepts that here also known as, I write down here, the throughput time. Throughput time, and that stands for TPT, throughput time. And in this case, the manufacturing lead time or throughput time is defined as the length of time spent in the process. The length of time spent in the process. So those are the concepts in measuring the performance of a process and the process analysis. So let's